Who work harder than me? No athlete work harder than me. Fuck fighters. No athlete works harder than me.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Ryan and this is Ade, and welcome back to another edition of Box Talk. Today it's This Week in Boxing, where we try and give you the reviews, previews and everything that happened in boxing in the past week. We only got 10 minutes, so Ade, let's kick it off. Last night's fights.
Everyone kind of attacked the card. We were kind of watching the fights, plus looking on Twitter. And on Twitter, it kind of got attacked a bit. It was full of like contenders and set up fights and matches and the Cleverly and Bellew thing that went down after in terms of Bellew going mad at Cleverly as he always does. I don't know why he goes mad at him personally, but he seems to go mad at him. Andy Joshua Skelton ended that very quickly. It was a decent card. It was the kind of end of year feel card. Yeah. To be fair, we don't want to take no risk. You've got fights already booked for all the guys really come next year. So it's almost like you're booking fights for these guys, but yet they've got to win their own fights first.
I understand developing fighters and having fights, stay busy fights, but I really hate when you've got so much things head up before a card that it makes the card kind of irrelevant. Yeah. When all you're talking before the fight with Skelton, even though we also Skelton was going to win within a couple, Joshua was going to win in a couple rounds, they already planned to have Joshua on for the Kell Brook card the Macklin card in August. Yeah. They're already saying that Cleverly and Bellew is going to fight in October. Everyone's already had matches pre-booked before the fight, so you can automatically get a feel that the card has no worth. Yeah. And that's not really, it's not dissing the card, but it's just the way promoters are showing their hands too much, really. Yeah,
I completely agree. It was just got to a stage where you can't book fights for fighters that have got supposedly, as Eddie Hearn says, tough fights. If they're tough fights, you're almost trying to jump the gun by booking previous fights. In that area, boring.
The old adage in boxing is that you never look past the fight you got. So fighters don't really like talking about the fights they got coming up. But every fighter was talking about the fights they have coming up because no one took the card serious.
Yeah, even the fighters. Yeah. And you never get fighters almost looking past fighters, but even the fighters were talking about what they've got coming up next year. And when fighters talk about that, you kind of feel like, okay, you must know something that we don't. Yeah. George Groves' comeback announcement.
Yeah. Good. Very good, very good. I think Simon Brothers are doing something special. Yeah. Definitely doing something special. I mean, let's be honest, when you talk about when people talk about boxing promotions, they always talk about Golden Boy and Top Rank. When you talk about world promotional bodies, just like over here, Saudis run the whole of Eastern European boxing, yeah? They are bigger or equivalent to any major promotional company in the world. Easily. And when they say they're coming over to the UK, they take a marquee fighter, a marquee stadium, on the comeback month, against a European title shot. That's a big move. That's a bold statement. And if I was Frank Warren and if I was Eddie Hearn, I'd be very aware that there's another power player in the business.
Yeah, you're right. It's they don't normally, they kind of leave the British market alone. They don't really kind of step their feet in it. They've recently obviously got David Price. Yeah. He's now fighting in Germany. Should be fighting on the card as well in Wembley. They're talking about. Big fight really for Groves. We're not going to go too much into it, but big fight for Groves really. I mean, what has he got left in terms of, not in terms of a fighter, but in terms of marketability? Yeah. I mean, obviously the Groves, it was those two. We know Froch can go and sell a stadium. Yeah. We know that. Can Groves do it without Froch? This will kind of show if he can, because Wembley Arena, I don't know, 15, 16,000. Can he fill it? Not sure.
I think he can fill it because the Froch Groves fight was such a big event for basically a year, from the first fight to the previous and first fight to the second fight. He's now become kind of a household name. Yeah. He's kind of made that crossover appeal, where he's maybe not on the TV shows and doing all the marketing type of events, but he's now, everyone knows George Groves. Yeah, so true. I think he could do it. Yeah. This week, looking at certain fights that were going on, I don't want to mention half the stuff I'm going to mention again, but Randall Bailey begging Al Heyman for a contract. What's Al Heyman got over fighters now? That fighters are releasing press releases to beg for a contract at Al Heyman. That tells me that people within the know, and under the fine line, there is something big going on.
Yeah, we always say, I mean, we've been doing this now in terms of the coverage for about a year. And even in that short time we've been doing it, we said that there's boxing, and there's a lot of that the fans don't know what really goes on in boxing. We're starting to open our eyes to what really goes on in boxing. A lot of stuff that could happen. Al Heyman definitely, the boxers and everyone else seems to know, if you want a payday, you want to get paid, you want to get the fights, it's like Al Heyman is the only way to go in America at the moment, the only place to go.
I mean, I thought, I don't get it. I mean, you call for fights, you call for everything, but you're actually begging people now to sign you for fights. And no disrespect to Randall Bailey, but you're not a marquee name no more. You're in your early 40s now. Yes, you still pull off those shocking victories.
Like he did with Mike Johnson.
Yeah, but you're really begging. I mean, that's a sign of the times in boxing.
No, there is, and you kind of feel sorry for Randall Bailey. We're talking about a former world champion having to beg for fights, almost kind of a bit similar to what Glenn Johnson's having to do as well, in terms of give me that last payday, that last big payday, and every fighter seems to seems to like ask for that last big payday, and you kind of feel like you should have managed your money a bit better, managers, promoters. That's another video, but you should have done it a lot better. Why do you keep asking for that last big payday?
Yeah. But look at main events and Bernard Hopkins and Sergey Kovalev. Remember the whole story where obviously we had Stevenson was going to fight Kovalev, and then Stevenson left and went to Showtime, and now this whole Golden Boy fallout, and now it seems that everyone's kind of back on friendly parties.
Yeah.
Does it seem to me that main events is trying to steal Hopkins to take it away from Stevenson?
Yeah, I think there's only one loser in it, and it's Stevenson.
Yeah.
I mean, Kovalev's not a fan of social media, doesn't really get on it. He's actually now started to get on Twitter and social media and said, going back at Hopkins, which is a strange one. The only person that loses here is Stevenson. The fight really should have been Stevenson-Kovalev. Yeah. And then it kind of changed to Stevenson-Hopkins. Yeah. And now it's looking like Hopkins-Kovalev. Yeah. And he loses.
And when people forget, Hopkins was going to fight Kovalev about a year ago.
Yeah.
Because when Murat couldn't get a license, Hopkins could fight Kovalev before Kovalev fought Kevely. So it's not like Hopkins has any. We all know Bernard Hopkins ain't going to duck no one. But it's not a fight he's going to run from. Yeah. So now it looks like at least Stevenson. After Stevenson's last performance against Fonfara, his stock has certainly dropped.
Yeah, in terms of TV are not chasing him. Like in terms of we need you on TV at the moment. That last fight, he relies on KOs. That's his big thing. It isn't boxing skill, isn't that? He doesn't really talk a good game. Yeah. He knocks people out. Yeah. When you don't knock people out, TV don't want to know. And unfortunately, for his last fight, he didn't knock Fonfara out. In fact, it was a closer fight. Matthew Macklin been signed by Eddie Hearn. What do you think of that? Is he being signed? Is he not? I tweeted this the other day. Is he still with Lou DiBella? Is it like a co-promotion, like a go-go? I'm confused.
It sounds like it's signed with Matchroom.
Yeah.
Matthew Macklin is one of those guys which I think is talented, but I'm concerned about his overall direction in boxing. He changed his trainer, he changed his manager, he changed his trainer, he changed his manager, he changed his camp, he goes and fights from Ireland, then he fights out of England, then he fights out of America. Only thing he had consistent was Lou DiBella for a long term. Yeah. Now that it's changed up to Matchroom, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong, because obviously you're based on the UK, you want to get your UK orders, you've got the fighters over here, but you need some consistency in your career. And that's the thing with Macklin. I think if he's stuck with one trainer, he might be further than where he is right now, technically. If he's stuck with one promoter, like he did with DiBella, he'll get certain things. If he's stuck with one manager, you might get certain things. All this jumping up and down, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, same here. I'm a bit confused as to what the deal is. I get the signing from Matchroom purposes. Yeah. It's a great signing. They want to try and get into the Irish scene again. They had it with Carl Frampton. Obviously, he's left now, and they're trying to get into an Irish scene. Matthew Macklin is that kind of gate entry into that. Possible fight with Andy Lee. Talking about Andy Lee maybe going out to 160 again. Seems like a few fighters don't really know what they're doing. They're almost chasing the money rather than chasing everything else. Andy Lee went down to 154. They're talking about him fighting Macklin. That's probably going to be at 160. Bit confused.
There was a time when they had John Duffy. John Duffy, he was another big Irish name, big fighter. And it's what they had. It's like they're trying to make everything right. But like I said, they kind of got a partial deal or a deal, and then he changed to another camp or another manager or another trainer. And it's like nothing ever seemed to stick. When you're building momentum, I don't see why fighters feel to change or pull things away when you're on a high. You're still fighting in marquee events in America, fighting main events, marquee caliber guys, and now you kind of pull yourself away from it to go for another direction. I like Macklin. I'm just confused with the direction.
Very quickly, a couple of minutes left on this one. We've got Adrian Broner fighting, not fighting Lucas Matisse, but both of them are fighting on the same card on the 6th of September. I tweeted out recently, who's left really to fight on Mayweather's card on the 13th? All the big guys, Porter, Brook, everyone else can't fight on there obviously because of Ramadan. I'm a bit concerned about we're not going to get the depth we need on a Mayweather card for it to sell.
Let me tell you something. Andy, you know this already, yeah? I hate TV output deals and long-term contracts with fights because you're paying for something where you have no guaranteed on. Mayweather's already got a contract with Showtime. If he sells bloody 100,000 views or 5 billion views, it makes no difference. He's still going to get his 35, 40 million. I mean, that's what caused the original problem with Golden Boy and HBO. That's what caused problems with Frank Warren and Sky. These output deals don't have no value in them because you're buying something you do not know. It's like buying an empty box of cereal.
No, you're right. On Twitter, Eddie Chambers and Audley Harrison are going back to back on Twitter. Is it a fight we want? I mean, Audley Harrison says, look, he admits, he says, I'm almost recently not good enough for the title holders, but I'm way too good for the contenders. Is he in that kind of I don't want Audley Harrison thing, or is that a load of rubbish?
All these are a little delusional sometimes, and yes, I understand you're not good for the world title. No disrespect to you, Audley, but you don't say you could take out all the contenders.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? And to be fair to Eddie Chambers is a smaller heavyweight. Now I'm saying with not a lot of power, so Audley will be more confident going to that fight because he knows Eddie can't really hurt him. But don't sleep on Eddie Chambers. Eddie Chambers is technically smart, very quick. They call him fast for a reason. He's a counter puncher. He will lay on the ropes and make Audley look silly at times. The thing about Audley Harrison needs momentum. If he's losing the fight, he will stay losing the fight. If he builds momentum, he works off it.
Yeah.
If you're missing and slipping shots from Eddie Chambers, you're not going to build no momentum. It took Vladimir Klitschko bloody 12 rounds to catch him.
Yeah.
So that tells you something.
There you go.
Talking about heavyweights quickly, these heavyweight titles, Ruslan Shagayev wins a WBA title. Come on, boxing. Are we really going to do this again?
I don't know if you guys heard my thing, because I tweeted as soon as, look, the funny thing is, it was a good fight against, I can't remember, Oquendo. He's been, David Hayes' partner for a while as well.
Big contender.
Yeah, big contender. I think he had a lot of people ringside. I think a lot of fighters were ringside. Good fight. Yeah. No, doesn't need to be for no WBA regular title. Just make that as a fight.
Okay, let's be honest, Is Shagayev or Oquendo even ranked in the top 10 of any sanctioning body?
No.
I mean, are you really going to call these guys world champions? I mean, Shagayev's a good fighter, don't get me wrong, but didn't Klitschko beat the living crap out of him about 4 years ago?
It's embarrassing.
Embarrassment, Jeff Lacey.
I was going to talk about one. But you beat me to it. You beat me to the function.
Jeff Lacey. I think if you want a poster boy for someone ruining your career, you need to go get a picture of Joe Calzaghe and put it on Jeff Lacey's bedside.
Honestly. Because
after that Calzaghe beating, Jeff Lacey has not been the same. And it's funny when you think about that fight's about maybe 10 years old now.
Wow. The funny thing is, I'm not moving away from Jeff Lacey, but we always talk about that when our fighters get beaten, and you don't realise it there and then, but the career's over, and you don't realise it. I mean, Bute Froch.
Bute Froch.
Bute was this monster.
Hopkins, Trinidad.
Hopkins, everyone.
Yeah.
Hopkins, Trinidad, Hopkins, Pavlik. You don't realise they have a few fights after, and everyone then kind of refers to that fight. Joe Calzaghe, you know what it was? You know why he ruined Jeff Lacey? Because he came over with so much hype. I mean, he was the next Tyson. He was going to clean out everyone in the super middleweight division.
I had Jeff Lacey knocking out Calzaghe.
Who didn't?
Yeah.
All the British promoters as well did. But hey, Calzaghe put him up, and he's not been right since.
Hopkins said it best in one video. I take your soul.
Honestly, Joe Calzaghe that night, honestly, should send Jeff Lacey a couple of quid in the bank. Because he took his soul, took his pension, took his money, completely ruined him.
For me, last one I want to mention, boxing related but slightly different. Former contender, Jamil McCline, is running for Congress in Florida. I thought it was a kind of a good, feel-good story for him. If everyone knows about boxing, Jamil McCline was a former contender, fought Vladimir, fought Chris Bird, fought for various versions of the title, was caught with drugs, I think with guns and stolen car, went to prison, got a big scar across his face, came out of prison, had a career, got into alcohol and drugs, but rehabilitated himself and now trying to bring something back to the community.
Yeah. I
think, it's a good start to that. One thing about boxing, it builds character.
Yeah.
And when people have tough things in life and you go through certain things, a second chance is always a good thing for someone. Know what I mean? Yeah,
no, I'm going to end it on this one as well. I think you're correct. One thing about boxers is that they forget they're huge, huge role models. Whether you want to take that tag or not, you're huge role models. It's all good boxers turning into promoters after and trainers after and managers. Doing what Jamil McCline done, completely getting off your radar and being a congressman, especially what he's been through, hats off.
Yeah, hats off. One thing I want to say, I would love to be in the room when they try and vote with him, if he wins a vote with him. Big 6'6", 280 £. Who's not going to... If he says vote for him,
you vote for him.
You vote for him.
Especially if he knocks on your door.
Yeah.
He knocks on your door. Are you going to vote for me? Are you going to come down and vote? But look, guys, this is second week in July. This is it. This is another edition of This Week in Boxing. Again, see, so much. We've got, on that phone, he's got so much stuff that we haven't spoken about. We're probably going to have to save until next week. A lot can happen in a week in boxing. Remember to email us at
boxtalk@hotmail.co.uk. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at BoxTalkUK.
And guys, don't forget to subscribe as well. And don't forget to tune in next week for another edition of, another edition of This Week in Boxing.